Hello and welcome. This is The King is Watching. It's a strategy roguelike game where you're trying to build a kingdom and protect it against invading armies, with the caveat that your people refuse to work unless if you are looking directly at them. Which is an interesting concept, and we'll see how it plays out in just a moment. First off though, I want to just take a look at the options menu here. It's very bare bones, and I wish there were more resolution options, but for what the game is, it doesn't need a big, expansive option screen. So if we go ahead and click play here, we will get to the kingdom management screen. Here we have 6 buildings, and all of them serve their own dedicated purpose. The most important building here is your upgrades. This is your meta progression. You take your town denari and ascension crystals that you unlock in multiple different ways, and you can bring them here to get different upgrades. You can get new buildings, spell damage increase. There's multiple tabs as well depending on what you're looking for. You unlock your kings, you unlock advisors in here, all that good stuff to make your future runs easier and even possible in some cases, because it would be quite interesting trying to see doing a max difficulty run without any unlocks, but I do not believe that you can remove unlocks once you have taken them, so it is what it is. Next we have the council building here. This lets you see all of your advisors, lets you choose 5 advisors, but we can choose advisors on another screen, which I would say is actually better, but this does let you just see all your advisors in one place. You have the gallery here. This just lets you see different images that you have unlocked. If I try to click on a gray image here, can't look at it, but if I click on this image down here, you can see a nice little piece of artwork. Yeah, this building, not useful, but is nice to have. You have the encyclopedia over here. This shows you every building that you have unlocked in each different category. So if you want to look up a building, you just look in here. It tells you what the building does. If it generates units, it tells you the stat information about those units. And yeah, there's multiple types of buildings. You have your resource production buildings, you have your combat buildings, and the category I've not played with too much, but I'm very curious about it, offensive structures. Basically buildings that fight with your army. And finally, we have the challenges. This is effectively just an in-game achievements page. All of these achievements are the same achievements that are on Steam, but as you do the challenges, you get rewards, ascension crystals, gallery pictures. There are things in here that aren't on Steam achievements though, which is the level masteries, which is just beating every boss in an area. King masteries, which is just as a king, beat a certain number of bosses. And that is that. So let's get into the preparation screen and actually take a look at the pre-game. So here in the top left, you have your king. With these arrows down here, you can select between all the different kings that you have unlocked. And these 3 at the end here, they are part of the DLC. I will not be talking about the DLC in this here, but just know that by default, you have King Baldwin. These 6 kings you all unlock via the upgrades. These 3 kings you unlock from the DLC, and these ones, when you buy the DLC, they are unlocked by default. You do not need to unlock them after the fact. So, once you've selected your monarch, I will go with King Brezinius here. You can see his 3 abilities. He can heal randomly damaged units. He can aggro units, enemy units, onto one of your units. And he can make your units explode when they die. And the longer they survive before exploding, the more damage they will do when they blow up. Here you have your final chance to select your advisors before going into. It brings you to the same screen that you were looking at before. And over here, there are 4 separate worlds you could choose from. You have the village, the graveyard, the volcano, and the dark realm. I have only played on the village and the graveyard, and each world has separate mechanics associated to them. So they're not just reskins, they have their own bosses, they have their own mechanics. The village, of course, being the most basic of them. So we're going to go into the village for this video. And here, we have the threat level. This goes from 0 to 10. And the threat level, of course, just determines how difficult it is, but also gives you more reward as well. The threat levels, for the first 6 levels that you will unlock them for every single world. But once you start getting past level 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, all those levels unlock individually for the world that you are playing. So, I'm going to go ahead and launch into the village, level 7 difficulty. We have Debris 1, half of the castle is covered with vines at the start of the run. Enemies have 70% more HP. Enemies deal 20% more damage. Bosses have not 1 but 2 modifiers. We have 150 gold of net. There's a 50% chance that an artillery unit joins enemy attack waves. The army limit is 2 lower. And unit limit and gaze upgrades are increased by 25% price. Get into it. So, here first and foremost, we have to touch the ball to reveal our fate, and we can see that we are fighting Margra, the Goblin's War Lady. So because of the difficulty that I've selected, you might have no modifiers, 1 modifier, 2 modifiers. Margra gives the enemy move speed 35% faster, and at the start of the wave, all my production is slowed by 50% and troops are 30% slower, and this debuff lasts for 15 seconds. That's unfortunate, but we'll figure it out. So, because I have gotten upgrades, I get some special bonuses at the start of the mission. I will take these 2 archer units because more troops in the early game is great. So, here we have the kingdom. You have all these tiles here. By default, a lot of these tiles would be held up by noble buildings that you can't do anything with until you get rid of them in the upgrades branch. And because I am playing on a high difficulty, half my kingdom is filled with junk, and I have to remove it by putting my vision onto the tiles and unpausing, and it will start removing those tiles. It takes 40 seconds to remove the rocks, but we don't want to be working on rocks right now. We want to build wells to start generating water, and then with water, we can get wood, wheat, and we just build up our economy from there. So this little circle here, and there's actually a red one here, this increases tile production speed. This red circle decreases tile production speed. So you want your most important buildings to be on those tiles. You can make more of these tiles, and you could even remove this bad tile. So, as we get into things, you have speed buttons up here. Speed up, you can pause whenever you want. So now, I should... Well, because I had that starting bonus, I don't need wood right away, so I'm actually going to just start collecting some wheat. And wheat is going to be our first source of money. We're going to build a market and start selling wheat to make money. So this game starts out very slowly, and it's great, but it does get a little repetitive the early game, I will admit. Overall, though, I would say this game is fantastic for replayability. So we actually already got one of those artillery units, but it got destroyed by Zeus, one of our advisors. And we have the ability to claim some rewards. I just took those 10 denarii there. We have levies. I will take... I suppose I'll take the militia camp. Basic production. I will take another wheat field. It's very important that you keep up with your basic resource production. Mainly water, wood, and wheat, because if you ever run out of any of those, you can find yourself in a tricky situation. Next, we get to choose our fates. You have to choose 3 of these inevitable ones, and the optional ones, those get you extra bonuses. So here I'm thinking I'm going to take the denarii. Actually, no, I'm going to put the denarii last, because denarii is only used for something that comes at the end of this 3-wave system. I'll take a basic production second and a levy barracks first. Now, if I look at the rest of these, I can get a building upgrade, which is nice actually. The building upgrades are fantastic. Kingdom infrastructure is hit or miss. They're basically special buildings that you can get. Established production would be good, but I wish this was an advanced production. Not another kingdom infrastructure. I think I'm just going to go with what I have. Since I'm playing on a high difficulty, things are very dangerous, so I don't want to overcommit to something that I can't handle. And every so often, you'll also get events. This event here, I can actually get a free gaze upgrade if I had 50 grapes, but I do not. So instead, I can get 100 gold, which would be nice, or 7 permanent morale. Which morale, you always want more morale, and this leader actually has bonuses related to getting morale. 50 morale, I get 2 hospital blueprints, 70 morale. My next 2 buildings are effectively free. I still need the resources to build them, but I get the resources back. And at 90 morale, my units are more capable at fighting. Let's continue building up then. I'm going to want more soldiers sooner rather than later, so let's get some peasant huts. And every building in this game only works when you're looking at it. So if I want the peasant hut to train soldiers, I have to look at it. And now I have peasants to help defend the kingdom. Because of the difficulty I'm playing on, there is a high chance that I am not going to win this. That's fine, because this game pretty much expects you to fail. It's not malicious per se, but that's kind of how you learn how to play this game. I'm going to take a second militia camp because I'm a big fan of militia. They are very tanky units. I'll get another peasant hut, train more peasants, get some more wood. Yeah, this game kind of expects you to fail. It doesn't hold your hand, and there's a lot of things, like the bosses, that will come to soon enough. But the bosses, if you don't know how to deal with them, they will most likely kill you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But the path to the bosses is not that dangerous. Unless if you deliberately make it more dangerous trying to get more resources. So I'm hard focusing gold in the early game here because I want to increase my gaze power. As you can see at the bottom of this tooltip here, it shows you how your gaze evolves as you upgrade it, and the more gaze you have, the more resources that you can be producing at one time. So Zeus is really hard carrying me here, but I will actually... Ooh, that peasant unfortunately died. But I'll make use of my first king ability here. Just kill my units for 10 water, heal 3 of my units for 1000 HP. They don't even have 1000 HP. That's a bit of a waste, but there you go. Now, that battle went from perhaps a Pyrrhic victory into a fair victory. We won that battle, not too many losses, I just lost peasants. I don't care about the peasants, they are weak fodder units. Just to hold the line while my archers are doing all the work. But yeah, this is the gameplay loop. You're just building buildings, collecting resources, fighting off waves of enemies. And you can always get more hostiles to fight for more resources. And your goal is to survive 3 boss waves. So this is what the denarii is for. So you can buy buildings, which is always a good idea to look up here to see if there's anything that you might want. Yeah, that produces multiple resources, but it's slower at producing resources. I think I'll pass, especially because I prefer to look here at the artifact section. So every time I create a unit, I get 3 wood. Helps keep my resources going. This will never pay for units. Units will always cost more than 3 wood or 3 of other resources. But it just helps make your resources go farther. This gives you legendary spells, which I haven't talked about spells yet, but unless if you're doing a dedicated spell build, you're mostly only going to be using the spells during the boss fights to give you an extra edge. Now this though, the tasty fruits, unit build. I'm a unit guy, I like my soldiers. I'll absolutely be taking that. Here we have spells that you can buy. You can buy resources down here, and you can also buy building upgrades down here or troop training. Back here now, we have enough money, we can go ahead and upgrade our gaze. And now, we have 4 tiles that we can look at. Let's get the bone pit, why not? Basic production, you want to get a clay mine early on because for many kings, you need clay to upgrade your gaze a second time. And iron is also good for making better units. Here we have an artifact, gain 4 grapes when I kill an enemy, or the royal order again. I'm not big on spells, so I'm going to take this, get free resources because you kill a lot of enemies. basic construction, and a prophecy. So here, I think I'm just going to take all the basic productions. And here we have an advanced production. You need advanced production in order to make a lot of medium and advanced units. So I'm going to be taking that, putting it at the end here though, so I have more time to prepare myself. And because I like having Denari, I'm going to take this as well. I'm tempted to take the artifact, but I think that might be taking on a little bit too much risk, so I'm not going to do it. Well, I want an artifact, didn't I? 50-50 chance of getting an artifact or nothing, or I can get a spell, or it can increase castle max HP. Let's do a little bit of gambling, shall we? I got the artifact. Okay, so I need to actually rebuild my army. I got these skeletons. I've got these militia. I can also increase the unit limits. Well, now I can't build any units. That was a bit of a blunder on my part. So let's collect some wood. I should be okay for when the next wave comes. So at this point, we've got a sizable army. It's a bit of a chaff army, I must admit, but it's getting the job done. And so long as I don't take on too much danger at one time, it shouldn't prove to be an issue. So here, we have the research table. This is a very important building. Basically don't want it on basic production at all times to just generate you more resources, because this lets you get more resource production buildings. So these guys, they're ignoring my soldiers. They're unfortunately probably tanky enough that they're going to damage my walls. Yeah, they just blow up your castle walls, blowing themselves up in the process. It's unfortunate, but there are ways to heal damage, so I'm not too concerned about it. Oh, okay, this has gone bad. So here's a little trick that you could take advantage of. So down here, you have three options. You can either, by default, spawn troops to the battlefield, which will make so that when a troop gets trained, it'll go into the battlefield and you can't train more units than your unit limit. I often use spawn troops capacity, which does that, but lets you store extra units so you can keep training past your limit and send them out later with the replenishment button, or by being a little bit more specific in here. However, this time I'm actually going to switch it to just spawning troops to the barracks. I've lost this fight horrifically. In fact, I might already lose, which would be embarrassing, but if I send the units out now, they will spawn behind the enemies, and the enemies will ignore them to instead damage the castle. I can only hope that I survive this, and I need to really start building up an army here. That was dangerous, but I can now get a forge. Metal is a fantastic resource, and you want to forge in basically every game. That's how the metal is how you get some of your best units. Ooh, damage dealt by troops is increased. That's very good. But this though, I did say I needed this. Whenever my units die, I gain HP, and I think while I want Eye of the Swarm, I think just for safety purposes, I think I have to take the Bloodbound Brick. With my two militia buildings, I do not need the peasant buildings anymore, so I can just deconstruct them, and I can actually sell them. If I would have done this sooner, I could have actually gotten the other artifact that I wanted, but sadly, I wasn't thinking about it. This game can get quite chaotic, but of course, you can always pause, and you can also not play on the fastest speed like me, because I'm a little crazy like that. So next on the order of things, I need to upgrade my gaze again. And at this point, because I've been collecting clay basically as I was doing other things, I can go ahead and just collect gold and we're all good. I'll probably talk about some of the other things in this game. The UI, for example, it does well enough. I do have a complaint that while you do not have a limit to your number of buildings, you have separate buildings pages. You do not have that same luxury for your spells. You have 6 spell slots. You can stack multiple of the same spell in one slot, but once you get 6 spells, then any new types of spells that you get, those just instantly get deleted. So I wish that was explained a little bit better, and maybe it is explained somewhere, but I found that not very clear. Alright, this is the final attack wave before the boss. This should be a pretty easy wave. I think for this boss, I should be fine. I've got a bunch of tanky frontline units, and a bunch of damage dealing backline units, so I should have no issues dealing with the boss. Unfortunately, I'm not going to quite get the broader gaze before the boss comes in, but here's Magra, the Goblin's War Lady. So she comes with a little detachment of, looks like, pyromancers and some fat lads. And if there's ever time to use my abilities, it is now. In fact, one of my militia just died. I could be a little cheeky here. I just summoned this militia. I'm going to aggro him, and that's going to make the enemies just walk right through to get to that guy. Now, that works until now there's a boss on my archers. I don't need to use another magic. Actually, I think the boss is affected by this. So yes, there we go. I just turned the boss to a sheep, and now that sheep is obliterating all my archers. I might have been a little bit overconfident going into this boss fight. I think, though, this should still be a win. It's just not as big of a win as I would like it to be. I don't really want to use the immortality power either, which is unfortunate, but I think so long as I could just keep up unit production, and I can even, yeah, boost unit production with another advisor that I have. Keep sending troops out there. We will wear the boss down with attrition. Oh. Yeah, so bosses have special abilities. Magra's here is that she does a big slam that has a lot of AoE that damages everything around her. And in fact, I think I might protect my archers. And can I get those guys as well? Yes, I can. What? How'd they... Maybe they were slightly out of the range of the spell? I'm not sure, because they should have been invincible. Plus, if potentially boss attacks negate that invincibility, but I feel like they don't, because I've definitely used invincibility effects against other bosses, but whatever. I am out of resources, but we just barely beat Magra. So for beating a boss, we get a lot of good rewards, legendary artifacts. Ooh, these are both good artifacts. Bigger army or ghost soldiers when my units die. I think I'll just take the bigger army. Legendary spell, very powerful spells. Veteran barracks. Out of these, I can only really use the Badger Camp. Yeah, because I don't have grape or flower production, so yeah, let's take the Badger Camp. Things are getting more difficult, but of course, a greater reward. And I love me money. So. Alright, next boss is the Hungering Maw. Every battle, my troops will flee for combat for 2.5 seconds. And a swamp will appear on one of my empty tiles. Ideally, I would have my entire kingdom be filled to prevent that from happening. But I need to start generating more resources and rebuilding the army, because that was brutal. Well, that's a funny way to unlock that. So when all of your tiles are filled, your walls upgrade and you get more HP. I succeed in doing that by getting a extra swamp from the boss modifiers, so that's... that's one way to do it, I suppose. Okay, next prophecy. I think just money and production. Another advanced production? Absolutely. And I think I could take this artifact. You know what? We're going to be very greedy. All the denarii, artifact, advanced production. I want everything. And I can even get 5 extra free troops to assist in the coming battles. Good. When you get free troops like that, they do go over your unit limit, so that is nice to have. So I have actually discovered a little bit of anti-synergy in my build here. My King's third ability here, which allows me to make a unit explode when they die, actually doesn't work on the Druids. The Druids transform mid-battle, and when they transform, they actually lose their bomb that they may have had. It's unfortunate, but oh well. I've got other units that I can place bombs into. Well, I guess I can use this artifact as a perfect opportunity to talk about how wine works. So wine just makes so that you have more morale, and morale affects, depending on your king, different things. This king, however, increases damage dealt, and of course, I have the rewards here that provide bonuses. This is a little trick that I can make use of. I don't really need wine, but I haven't gotten any great producing buildings because of the artifact that I got that makes so that every time I kill an enemy, I get wine. So I can just make wine from the corpses of my enemies. Brutal, but efficient. Oh, it's the next boss already. Okay, I was not mentally prepared for this. That's actually really bad. So I think this is a perfect opportunity to do a little bit of chain lightning. Try to just kill as many of them as I can. Unfortunately, this boss does spawn more soldiers, and I do not like how my hospitals and arena are set up here. Hospitals heal units, arena provides more morale, so that my units are fighting better. And let's re-aggro them onto these units up here. Try to just save as many units as possible. Yeah, bosses in this game are brutal. Let's send you two in with bombs on you. I should be able to win this fight, but it is definitely going to be very close. Ooh, actually, bosses are the exception to if they attack your castle or your units. I think I'm dead here, actually. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that, but when a unit got spawned out, the boss actually turned around and stabbed that unit, yeah, before attacking the building. Bosses do not care. They will not allow you to effectively cheese them like other units. So this is actually a loss. That is unfortunate, but that is the way things go. My build was all right, but I was definitely a little bit too reliant on basic soldiers. But the only really good alternative I had were the druids, but that's just how it goes. It's a roguelike. Fail, try again. But I just got some Tandanare, so I can go in here now, get upgrades to make future runs easier. That is the basics of The King is Watching, and overall I would say this is a fantastic little game. So let's start with the base information here. This game's $15, and for that you get 4 worlds, 10 difficulty levels each world, plenty of base game content. It's well worth it. If you like this kind of genre of games, absolutely pick this up. The DLC, on the other hand, and this is the reason why I wasn't going to mention the DLC earlier. All the DLC adds is these 3 kings. It doesn't add any levels, and to my knowledge, it doesn't add any content outside of just these 3 kings. For $5, that might be a little bit more expensive. So absolutely pick up the base game if this is your kind of game, and if you want that more experience of the new kings, absolutely pick up the DLC. But all this DLC is really just different leaders to play as. There's no other content, just new leaders. But yeah, that is it for The King is Watching. Definitely a game to pick up, and definitely a game that I will watch with great interest, as they have a roadmap going on right now explaining that they are actually planning on releasing another DLC. I'm guessing it'll probably be about the same, $5 for 3 new leaders, and they're actually releasing a new world as well, which I assume will come with new content specific to that world. That'll be it. I'll thank you all for watching. Have a good one.